Good morning, UK. How are we today? Excuse me, I've just literally finished eating my breakfast, trying to shove it down before we get on this live. I am super excited to be welcoming our perimenopause coach. Bear with me one second. We are just going to invite you up, Kirsty. Okay. Just got to get the tech side of this down, so bear with me. Oh, bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Come on. We've got to wait for Kirsty to come on down. How are we today? How's your week going? We are midweek already. It's gone super fast so far. All right. Just waiting for Kirsty to come along. Our special perimenopause coach. Kirsty, you need to be on your phone. Here we go. Here we go. Here she is. Right. Send invitation. Apologies this morning. Who else did cardio or has done cardio this week? I can say that I have done my cardio session today. So that's my only cardio for the week. Otherwise, it's going to be weights. Hi. Hello, Kirsty.
Hello, Bianca. How are you, lovely?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I am fantastic. Had a great day.
Good. Oh yeah, is it the end of your day today?
Well, it's the afternoon. My son's just got home from school, so he's out the front playing quietly. I said, play gently so no one gets hurt, and play quietly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for joining us and the members this wonderful Wednesday. It's beautiful over here. So, I mean, you're in Australia, so it's probably beautiful 99.9% of the time, right?
We need rain, to be honest. It's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful blue skies today, but it would be nice if it could just rain at nighttime. I'm all for the rain at nighttime, blue skies during the day.
I mean, that's probably the most useful because it's so hot during the day anyway that the rain's just going to go straight back up again, right?
It's not that hot, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice because we're coming into winter. So we've got beautiful, I don't know what it was today, 26 maybe, 27
I love
degrees.
it when Australians talk about winter. It's just hilarious. Like, come over here. Come and experience this. You don't want to.
All right, I was there a couple of years ago.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
All right, let's crack into this. So, everyone, I would love you to meet the wonderful Kirsty. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but perimenopausal life coach.
Yes. Well, I'm a naturopath, and then I do like coaching as well because I find it works incredibly well together.
Absolutely.
But yes, I specialize now mainly in perimenopause.
Fantastic, beautiful. So I'm looking forward to very much picking your brain today.
Awesome.
I am definitely all about the naturopath side as well. So I would love to get into it. What I was thinking about talking about today, we haven't actually had a conversation, but just maybe what women can probably expect from going into perimenopause, maybe the physical side, because I'm not very science-based, so I would love to hear from your account as well, like what's going on and how that's going to affect us. And maybe a couple of little remedies or tools that you might find useful. How does that sound?
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
Excellent. So please feel free to introduce yourself, much better than I can do. I do not do you justice.
Okay, well, I have been a naturopath about 20 years. I had about a 5-year gap when I had my last child, my son. I also do a few other things. So I do the laser coaching, Bowen therapy, Neuralink. I went through a stage that I was seeing shiny objects and went, I want to learn that. And I've had to go, no, stop. You've got enough. This is what we do now. So I went through a fertility journey myself, and I used to work with a lot with fertility clients, and then I went through this crazy fertility journey, and it really made me look at how our hormones are changing even when we're not aware that our hormones are changing. And there can be problems without us initially having any signs and symptoms that the things are going wrong. So when I sort of decided to get back into work more full time after my son, I still do a little bit with fertility, but it's now that perimenopause, because I was actually told I was starting my perimenopausal journey when I was like 34, 35, which is quite young, and it was quite a slap in the face because I was doing all the right things. I was eating healthy. I thought I was looking after my body really well. My younger years, maybe not so well, which may be part of the issue, but I also was under a lot of stress, and that being under that stress really screwed up my hormones and how my body could function, and it was just almost in survival mode. So there's going to be different people who are going to experience very different things through perimenopause and menopause and then post-menopause. So before I sort of go into it, I'll kind of explain what the different phases are, because what gets talked about a lot is menopause. So people kind of go, they kind of have this connection. I find a lot of women have a connection with menopause is a time when your period stops and you get hot flushes and you can't sleep properly and you might put on some weight. And that's the kind of the feedback I get from a lot of people. They don't really realize that the process is a long process, and it's not an old age thing. It starts usually by 35, things have started. By 40, most women are going to have some hormonal changes, even if they're not really aware of them. However, it is looked at that you can go through perimenopause in between 2 to 12 years is the normal sort of time frame. So it's a very large time frame to be called normal. And I've been going for 15 years and still going. So, you know, everyone's going to be very different. So perimenopause usually will start around 35 to 40. Some women a bit later. Then menopause is when you haven't had a period for 12 months. So there are a few different people who talk about different phases in perimenopause. Phase 1 being that first phase where you don't know what's going on. Everything seems normal. You're having a fairly regular period. You may be having a slightly short period every now and then, which is a sign definitely that you are now starting. Your ovaries are starting to slowly not be as functioning as highly as they were before. Phase 2 is when you're going to have your shorter periods tend to be your more common scenario. So say you used to be a 28-day cycle, which we talk about that very casually, because some people might just have a start off and always have a 27-day, 26-day, or always had a 32-day. So it's whatever's right for you. What happens is that shortens, and that's sort of phase 2 is when that starts becoming shortened and it's regular. So it might be a few years that you have like this shorter period. Phase 3 is when you're sort of more likely to be skipping periods. So you might have a period, a flow, and then you don't have a flow for a couple of months, and then you have another flow. And it's longer times between periods. Phase 4 is when you don't know if your last period was your very last period. So you may go forward 5 or 6 months and then have a period. So it's kind of like a waiting game, because once you've had 12 months without a period, that's called menopause. And it's only that day. So when you might not have a period for 8 months and then you get a period, you actually have to start the clock again and that timer for another 12 months from there. So you can also be in that period for a few years. So some people it's quick, some people they just have a period every 8 months for a couple of years or 3 or 4 years, and so they're constantly in this like waiting period. Once you hit menopause and that one day of going, that's it, I've had my last period, you are then what most people call post-menopausal. Now, you may have a couple of bleeds in there, but it's not very common, and it's just there can be a little bit of hormonal activity still going on. So that's the basics of the different terminology. So when I talk about perimenopause, it's that whole time up to potentially stopping your period, but very often women are going to have symptoms after that time as well.
Okay, so when we talk about perimenopause, it is from the moment our body starts changing to the 12th, the 365th day after our last bleed.
Yes, that's
Gotcha.
right.
Gotcha. And then it's post-menopause. So menopause is just like the word for that kind of like marker, right? It's been 12 months. Because I feel like people throw the words out, and I'm really grateful that you've really broken them down. We have had another menopause coach on as well, but my memory's like I'm like a goldfish. But yeah, my
hopefully we
like
say similar things.
Similar things, but you guys, like, I mean, you're both going to have your own expertise, which is freaking fantastic, right? We can't get enough of it. And that's why I'm like, yes, more. Yeah, and I think the word menopause, and even I'm guilty of this, is just thrown around there just to like talk about the general symptoms and general times. But it's really important to know that, you know, that is all all the way up until that 365th day after your last period, and then we are in the post-menopause phase.
Absolutely, that's
Thank
it.
you.
And there's going to be times when perhaps you've had a hysterectomy or something, and so you're not getting a period, but you're still actually cycling. So technically, you're not in menopause because you're still having a cycle. Because if you still have your ovaries, you're still going to be cycling. So there is that case of going, well, you don't know unless you get tested and you can see potentially, but there's no real test to see if you are perimenopausal. So there's indications, and there's tests that they can do that can kind of go, looks like you are, and as you get closer to menopause, they are clearer and more obvious, and the tests just look at your hormones and the levels of your hormones. Okay, so then what I will explain is just very quickly what your hormones should be doing through the month. So then I can explain what happens when they drop. So very, very quick. So let me know if people need this in more detail. But I think most women get this, that day one is the first day of your bleed. So if you're spotting and then you start bleeding, that spotting is not part of your period. That potentially should be looked at. It's usually a sign that your hormones are out of whack. So your first day is when you have a proper flow. So we call that day one. And then what's happening is your estrogen and your progesterone are sort of like coming along, kind of start off fairly flatlining, estrogen slightly higher, and estrogen's going to go up. And what estrogen is doing in the body, it causes growth, and it's increasing the lining of your uterus. So it's kind of like prepping your body to, if you're going to get a fertilized egg, and the egg got somewhere nice and juicy in that lining of your uterus. So as that's going up, you're going to have a couple of other hormones being released. So you've got follicle stimulating hormone. That's coming from your pituitary gland to say, okay, come on, ovaries, we need to choose which follicle we want to be dominant to release the egg. And then at ovulation, or 24 hours, 48 hours before ovulation, luteinizing hormone is going to peak. And that actually then tells your body your ovaries to release the egg. So that's ovulation. So in a 28-day cycle, usually it's around day 14, but people can vary a lot on where that can be. And it's just learning to monitor your own symptoms and your signs, so you can start looking at things like your cervical mucus and things, taking your temperature. I don't know if you've had anyone on here talking about how to track their cycle. Amazing thing to do. Absolutely think every woman should start learning about the signs and the symptoms that our bodies are showing, and especially starting off at a young age when we know this is how it's supposed to be and what we should be looking for. And then it does show you that sort of window of when you're fertile, so you don't have to be panicking outside of that window as much, if a whoopsie happens. But bringing it back. Okay, so you've just ovulated. Once
just
you've
need to
ovulated,
get him sorted. That's all you need. Come on, guys.
Well,
come on, stand
you
up.
might be wanting to have a baby. So then again, you want to know what
Oh,
that
sorry, I
fertile
forget
window.
that there's actually the majority of the population that think in a different way to I do.
It goes both directions. Uh, yeah, so then your estrogen is supposed to then start dropping, okay? And at this point, this is when you ovulate, that's when progesterone is released. And when progesterone is released, it's only released if you ovulate. So if you don't ovulate every month, you're not going to be producing progesterone. So people are on the pill, they won't be ovulating. So they'll have like a pretend bleed if they go on the sugar pills, but it's not a true period. So they are not going to be ovulating, and so they're not going to actually have any natural progesterone being produced in the body. And progesterone is this amazing hormone that kind of makes you feel happy and safe, and it's like this grounding hormone. So if you've got low progesterone, you're more likely to feel a bit irritated and anxious, a bit and overwhelmed, harder to sleep, that type of thing. But ideally, you're going to have this sort of boost of progesterone. If you haven't conceived, then the progesterone drops down as well. And with the estrogen and the progesterone dropping down, that's going to cause you then to have your period and start having that sloughing of the uterus lining. So that's kind of like your 28-day what's going on, okay? Making sense?
Yep.
A little bit?
Absolutely. I'm loving the science lesson.
So then when we start going into perimenopause, the first hormone, I'm going to go with a number, but I'm going to say 95% of the time, the first hormone to go down is progesterone. So progesterone, perimenopause can be kind of, and the whole menopausal journey is almost like a flipped reversal of what is happening through puberty, right? So puberty, it's another 12-year potential journey, a lot shorter for some girls. But initially what happens is that estrogen goes up for young girls, and then the body, after a few years, learns how to produce has the ovulation, and then increases their progesterone production. We're doing the opposite. So our progesterone is starting to drop. So they're going to be the first signs and symptoms that most women will see while they're going through perimenopause. So the potentially anxiety, the mood, bit more mood, feeling overwhelmed, can be low libido, but low libido is linked with I will say
many things.
And all the hormones can have similar things. So dropping of your progesterone, low estrogen and high estrogen can all potentially cause weight gain. So it's like you can't tell purely from your symptoms exactly what's going on with your hormones, because they all kind of interact and cross over each other.
Can I ask a question? And this might be a little bit controversial, especially because this is a weight loss group. When we say that these hormones can help us, make us gain weight, is it because we are self-soothing more because our hormones are out of whack and we feel bad and we feel low? Or is there a scientific reason as to, like, do we metabolize less, like the fat less? Like, what is it more of an emotional crutch that we end up eating more, therefore it is just typical that women will gain weight because it's that crutch, it's that emotional support? Or is there like a physical scientific reason?
There's way more scientific reasons, and there's a few, and it is, again, so some of them include when estrogen starts dropping, so usually a little bit later on, when estrogen starts going down, that affects your insulin resistance. So when insulin is pumped into your blood, when you've eaten some sugar or eaten something that's then turned to sugar in the blood, insulin then makes that sugar go into the cells for energy or stored for fat. As estrogen is dropping, insulin sensitivity starts dropping, and then you become more insulin resistant, meaning that the cells need more insulin to understand that they have to be taken in to use that as energy. And the body then, because it's more insulin resistant, it's going to be putting that food you've eaten and put it into more fat storage.
Yeah.
That is why one of the that's one of the reasons why, as you start going through perimenopause, you sort of hit this age. And I can remember going, every generation, no, every decade, I had to shift and change how I ate and how I exercised. And
Yep.
you know, like in your 20s, it's like, oh, I had a big weekend and I can just do, like, I'll go for a run and I might just drink more water that day and I feel amazing and back tight again. 30s, bit harder, but could still do it. Just had to work a little bit harder and I could still balance it. Hit my 40s and did not matter. I could be working out constantly and eating lettuce and I was putting on weight. And it was like, and I have clients who'll come to me going, I don't eat. Where then it's a whole shift. It's not about calories in, calories out anymore. That's like, you've just shifted into hormonal weight gain and you need to be eating more. So you need to eat nutrition, like the right nutrients for your body, and change the way you're exercising. And then again, if you've got any adrenal issues, that's going to compound that weight gain, because when you have adrenal issues and you have high cortisol, so when your adrenals are pumping out more cortisol because you're in this fight or flight stressed mode, that is also going to be telling your body to be storing fat rather than burning as energy. So then you've got this other layer going on as well. I had like two things then to say, and then my brain just went too much.
Sorry.
No, I had just as two thoughts at a time, which is another thing that happens through perimenopause and with this whole sugar imbalance. Our brains find it harder to function. And a lot of women start finding it harder to remember things. They get brain fog, they get overwhelmed. And it's really hard, especially, it's hard for all women, but you often have corporate women who have got high ranking positions and suddenly they're like, I don't remember anything. Like, I can't remember what I have to do. And it's it's a worrying thing. And there's reasons with the estrogen and the progesterone is changing how your brain is able to remember. But it's also that insulin resistance where you're now not getting that glucose that you need into your brain for it to the energy for your brain to work and function properly. So so that was just reminded me with my big brain blurb.
Perfect. No, perfect timing.
Yeah, it was. There are other things as well. So estrogen also affects, so when you're going through perimenopause, it's like we've just compounded. There's so much stuff, and we have to that's why I really try to work with women from as young age as possible to go, you need to be supporting all areas of your body's health before you are hitting this kind of whirlwind of hormones and everything going on. The more balanced you can be, the more likely you can flow through it. And everybody knows there's women who just seem to flow through perimenopause. I do think sometimes they have symptoms that they don't know are perimenopausal, because I often have conversations. They go, oh, it was so easy. And then they'll talk about their brain fog or their bone loss or muscle loss, like other things that are very perimenopausal.
Not everyone's going to be able to detect every single little thing. A lot of us will be like, oh, maybe just didn't get enough sleep that month, or stress, something else coincides. So work was busy, so you just put it down to that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you just think that finding it hard to sleep, people just go, oh, it's old age, where I guess it is because we're aging, but perimenopause is a natural part of aging, and if we can balance everything, we can handle everything a lot easier. But insomnia is a common complaint. Waking up, especially between that 2 to 4 a.m., very common. Urinating more. So some women then have to get up and urinate. Once or twice you kind of go, okay, but some women have to get up like 8 to 9 times at night. So there's no way they can have a good night's sleep. The hot flushes as well. There's so many symptoms, and they're going to vary. So you can also have estrogen dominance, that's kind of like it's talked about a lot, I find, on social media. Like, you need to take products like DIM, which can be amazing for estrogen dominance, but you have to be monitoring your estrogen, because just because you've got estrogen dominant signs, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true estrogen dominance. So things like heavy periods, especially, is a sign of estrogen dominance, and so people go, "Yep, I need to be on products like DIM," and they'll just start taking it. But in the meantime, what's actually going on in their body? It may be that their progesterone has dropped, which has then meant that the kind of the space between the progesterone level and the estrogen level, that's increased, which then makes you have an estrogen appearance, a dominant appearance. But it's just that there's no progesterone to kind of balance it out. So that means the estrogen's not actually too low, and then it can start dropping. And then if you're taking products to make it drop, you then can have more problems. You just kind of have to really be watching the two. Yeah. I gone off. I feel like I go off on a tangent and I can't remember what the question was.
No, I love it. I think the question was to introduce yourself, to be honest with you.
And
I think
that's
where we started. I think that's where we started. Okay, well, I mean, you've practically gone ahead and answered most of the questions already in that very, very good explanation. And like I said to you, I'm like a bloody goldfish, in one ear and out the other. So it's really nice to have a different perspective and a different education on this. So what can we do? Let's go through a couple of things of what we can do before we hit perimenopause, or then while we're going in through perimenopause, and then do we need to change anything once we have gone past menopause, so we're in that post-menopause phase?
Okay. So before perimenopause, you're feeling like, yep, you're doing okay. The biggest things I think women should look at is their stress levels. And I know people just go, oh, it's always about stress, but it really
That's because it is.
It really is. It's all about stress. Just affects so much of us on so many levels. And because it's affecting the adrenal glands, so when your ovaries start sort of slowing down and shutting down, your adrenal glands also start producing estrogen and progesterone. Not massive amounts, but enough to help your body balance out the drops. So if you've got a healthy adrenal gland, so your adrenal glands sort of sit on top of your kidneys, and they are the ones that sort of, fight or flight. If you get a shock or a fright, and adrenaline starts pumping, and your cortisol, for if you're feeling stressed. If you can support them so they're as healthy as possible, so when you start having those hormones dropping and changing, they're going to help to balance that out, right? Rather than going having a big drop in estrogen, which then going to cause other problems. And one of the things that does happen is when the estrogen drops, you need estrogen. Estrogen is really important. So your brain's like, okay, we need another source of estrogen. And another source of estrogen actually comes from fat cells. So that's why sort of you hit that age and you start getting sort of a thicker trunk in your stomach. You get like this peri-tummy, and you get like fat around your back and your bra strap, because those areas almost become an organ in themselves, and they produce more estrogen because our body needs more estrogen. But then this production of estrogen actually causes more inflammation and causes us to get fatter and produce more estrogen. So it's like this doesn't quite work sort of circuit. So if we can address by supporting our adrenal glands, finding things that are calming for ourselves. It may be going for a walk, walking. I think everyone from every age should incorporate somewhere in their lives.
Oh my God, I saw a video on Instagram the other day and someone was like, walking is an exercise. I was like, oh, I've reached that far of that corner of the internet where we're just speaking bullshit now. Okay. Just try not to be a troll and ignore.
Yes. And maybe in your early 20s, you never have to walk. You can run everywhere. And I used to love running everywhere. I would go out running. And the idea of walking was like, I can get over there way quicker if I run. And I need to sweat. And I need to be sweating.
That's where we're different. I would rather walk. Make me run for the bus? No. Run for a taxi? No. I wouldn't run for a freaking aeroplane.
Oh my God.
I'd lift
funniest
it.
story.
I'd deadlift.
Yes.
that's fine. I'll push it above my head if I have to.
Best thing ever. Yes. And that's weights. Oh my God. If you're not doing resistance training, no matter what age you are, start. And very, very important for perimenopause and menopause.
This is definitely something that I want to, it's definitely something that I encourage a lot of my clients to do and find some form of resistance training that they enjoy. Are you able to go into just like very, very briefly, like the reasoning behind that?
Yes. Okay. So as we're aging, we're going to start losing muscle mass. And I think I should have checked the percentages, but I think it's something like once you hit 40, it's 3% every year, but that just sounds too much to me. Yes. It starts off being 3% right. Every year, at 3% every decade until you hit perimenopause, and then it increases rapidly, as well as your bone density. So very important, because we need that strength to look after ourselves, to be able to stand strong, number one. Number two, it's going to help with your blood sugar levels, help with that insulin, because the more muscle you have, muscle actually, when you're activating your muscle, sugar the glucose can be sent straight into your muscle cells. It doesn't need the insulin to transport it over, so it doesn't have to worry about that insulin resistance. And you're also going to have, the more muscle you have, so that's why you're burning more calories when the more muscle you have. So that would be the two main reasons I go, yes, you need to. Actually 3, because it builds bone density as well. The more that you can do resistance training, the stronger your bones are.
Yeah, and I always talk about this as well. And we want to be self-sufficient. We want to be independent when we're older, and because we didn't move our body enough or nearly as much as we need to when we're younger. If we end up like falling over and breaking something, breaking a hip, breaking an arm, breaking a bone, and our recovery is so long, just because we didn't exercise, it's just a silly reason, right? When it has such great short-term and long-term benefits, and our brains love a good short-term benefit. They love a little bit of instant gratification. And so I said to my clients, is being able to get back up after falling over when you're older important, or do you want to set yourself up to end up breaking a bone potentially? And I've seen that with my nan. I've seen that with both of my nans. It's like they fall over and I'm like, should have moved more, shouldn't you? Come on now, get back up. What are you doing on the floor?
Get back up, you. Oh no. Yes, it's definitely it's one of the most important things, I think. And if you can do now, if you've got adrenal problems, you do want to make sure you're not exerting for long periods. So it doesn't mean you want to still go in, get as heavy as you can, kind of weights, and start doing that. But I will have some adrenal clients that really have to do very minimal until they've built up their health again. But if you've got some type of sort of adrenal fatigue, just where your adrenals are just not working as well as possible, then I kind of avoid 45-minute, hour-long pump classes, but prefer them to go and do like a 20-minute heavy workout yourself at the gym. You might need
Suits me fine. Suits me. That's cool. Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a perfect example is when you look at people who are consistently doing these HIIT sessions, like the 45-minute sessions, like those people, those absolute badasses, like those superheroes that go every single morning. You might notice that after a year or two, their body's not changing because it's just an excessive amount. And now they've put, and you might correct me here if I'm wrong, but they're putting their bodies through excessive amounts of exercise every single day. They're not giving themselves enough time for their adrenal glands to calm down, for that stress, the fight or flight to calm down. And so they're actually at a disadvantage by doing this much high intensity workouts a week.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like, so I remember when I used to go to the gym, there would be some gym instructors taking aerobic classes or pump classes, a whole mixture, but they might be doing, 3 or 4 classes a day, and they weren't slim toned people.
Not
And
what you
if
would
you're
expect
exercising that
for
much,
that
there's
much
no what you,
exercise.
yeah, you can't be eating that much to counteract it. There's something else going on. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's so yeah, too much exercise. But
yes.
I think unless you're doing a high intensity every single day, we're probably, the majority of us, I would say, the majority of us probably don't actually move as much as we need to. A lot of people that I speak to, their target could be 5,000 steps, and I mean, if the recommended daily is 10,000, it just gives you an idea of how much more we need to be moving our bodies.
Yeah.
I think the modern world of sitting in a chair, sitting at a desk, I'm grateful that I've got a stand-up desk and a walking pad, but the realities of the world that we live in, we have a lot of static jobs, and a lot of what we do is seated. When if you think back, like, a lot of our work that we did was very physical, and so we've become accidentally lazy.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes people aren't even aware of it until you sit down and you talk to them about, okay, what does your day consist of? And they're like, wow, I am sitting a lot. So even if you are going out and doing some move or doing like an exercise class, but you're sitting for 10 hours, that you're still sedentary. Like that's
that
not,
1 hour doesn't counteract.
No, you need to kind of be mixing it in, almost like have an alarm on your clock, on your phone, buzzes every 20 minutes, get up, do a lap around the house, with so many people work at home now, do a lap around the office, whatever it is, come back and sit down, just so there's constant blood flow and movement, and you're not just sat there. But it's like you say, accidental sedentary lives. I know. I didn't realize how much I sat down until I personally went, looked at it and went, oh wow, I really need to do what I preach.
Yeah, and even just standing, I mean, you don't have to get a really fancy, expensive stand-up desk. Like, before I got this desk, I was on like our kitchen countertop with an ironing board at the lowest setting, an ironing board, and about 3 boxes on top to try and make sure that I can stand. It was not safe. It was not secure. Every time I like pressed the escape button or something, like the whole thing would collapse.
A wobble.
Yeah. However, again, it's activating those muscles, using your core, using your legs. Not only are you going to be burning a few more calories by standing, but you're actually using the muscles and using your skeletal structure. Okie dokie. So how about after then? What should we be changing anything? Should we be settling by that stage?
Okay, so when going into perimenopause, still adrenals always going to be top of the list. Looking after your stress levels. We want to be looking at foods that can be helping us balance those hormones. So we want to avoid things like xenoestrogens. So xenoestrogens are estrogen-like structures that you find in like plastic bottles and plastic containers, that sort of thing, in your makeup, skincare.
Never heard of this before.
So they will leach. So say you've got a water bottle, and this is one of the things why they go, oh my God, don't drink out of plastic water bottles. It's going to be worse the longer your water sits in there, if it's sitting in heat or in the cold. So if people water in a plastic water bottle in their fridge, not good. The xenoestrogens go into the water. You're going to be drinking them, and they kind of mimic estrogen in your system, but they block the body's ability to use its own estrogen, and it's going to be causing like an estrogen dominance effect. So it's not a nice type of estrogen. We then have what's called phytoestrogens, which are like plant estrogen-like structures, which are beneficial because they're going to be supporting the receptors, estrogen receptors. So I know you like soy. I'm more the tempeh miso person, but
love good tempeh, love miso.
One of the most common phytoestrogens that people know about, as well as like your flax seeds, like linseeds, depending on where you live in the world. Nuts and seeds in general are quite high, are good in phytoestrogens. So you want to be increasing your phytoestrogens and decreasing or getting rid of anything you possibly can that's got xenoestrogens in it.
I didn't know that plastics contain an estrogen-like compound. Compound, is that the right word?
Yes. And even like to this date, they did originally, they thought when you were heating plastic it was going to be worse. So they would say don't ever heat food in plastic. And then, I mean, this is still 15 years ago or so, I remember being taught that when you put it in a freezer it's just as bad, like getting it cold. So ice cream in an ice cream plastic, I'm always like, maybe just don't eat the edge bit, honey. Eat inside. I don't eat ice cream, so I'm like, eat the edge bit. But it's just being aware, like changing your makeup and your cleaning products and stuff to try to remove a lot of those chemicals that are going to be affecting your hormones, because it's going to put your hormones out. It's going to be affecting your progesterone. It's going to be affecting your estrogen. You're going to have more hot flushes. You're going to be moodier, lower libido, or just not even low libido, but potentially just, you know, you're just going to be, your vagina can get dry and nothing's fun. You may just not like your partner, or, you know, to be touched, or anyone to come near you. And I find if you can really clear out and detox the body, a lot of these start, the interest in your partner sparks back up again. But obviously if you're tired and exhausted, it might be that as well. So there's other things going on. But I often say,
like a domino effect.
Yeah, and there's all different reasons, and it can all change, and it can just be because you've had a big day and you're tired and you're like, no, not at all interested. But it may be a hormonal thing where you even go, I am actually really keen, but there's something else that's just putting me off because it's not fun anymore. So there's different reasons to go. And for me, I just really want to make it not uncomfortable for women to talk about their sex life and how they feel and what's going on in their body, because I think so much of our whole lives as women, we are taught to be ashamed of. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about, even like, you know, when you're going through puberty, so many girls don't really get a big true picture of what's going on and what's happening. It's not really talked about. It's just like surface level stuff. And then the same going through perimenopause and menopause, and so many women are almost ashamed of going through perimenopause because it's like connotations of getting old, or you're over the hill, when it's so not the case. And there are women who haven't had a period for many years in postmenopause who are having the best sex life in the world. So I kind of feel like, and they're doing other things, it's not just about sex, but sex is a big part of life. And I've had times of very low libido myself, and I know that it's something that you can, sometimes it's like, yeah, I really just don't want it and I don't even care it's low. So I've had clients who go, no, don't fix my libido, like I don't want that. And other times it's like, no, please do, I really want that connection with my partner again. So yeah. Oh yeah, I can go on tangents. Sorry, I really just go off. So back to xenoestrogens, it's really good. I guess this is one thing to do through perimenopause, but I would say do it from as young age as possible, is move to natural organic skincare products, your makeup. Have a glass or stainless steel water bottle. Use as much natural cleaning products as possible. So I often say when I have clients, I'll say, look, once you've run out, like keep using whatever you're using, but once you've run out of a product, go find an alternative that's organic and natural, just so you're not getting those chemicals in your system.
I like Tropics. I use Tropics.
Oh, I don't know Tropics.
But they're all in plastic containers. How does that?
I know some really serious skincare products will make glass ones. I guess it may also be the case of if they're producing smaller amounts, so they're not sitting there for long, getting them out to you earlier, not as much. I think things like, it depends what it is that you're using. If it's a cream, then again, glass and stuff is better.
how pedantic you kind of want to be.
Yeah. And don't go over the top, because then you're going into that cortisol rising issue where you're stressing yourself
Oh
out.
my God. Don't
It's
touch
okay.
me with your plastic.
Yeah. And our bodies can detox incredibly well. So it's just what all we're wanting to do is, I guess, then supporting your liver, your bowel motions. It's about living a life that we can minimize the amount of toxins we're putting in without feeling stressed and anxious about it, and understanding that if we have something that is not the healthiest thing for us, it's fine. Our bodies can deal with it. It's just that we're living in an environment where there are more and more toxins. So we just have to be more and more aware of just supporting ourselves and making sure we're strong and healthy.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, yes, so that all goes all the way through onto the other side in post.
They all, yes, I think they all sort of do. I'm trying to think if there's anything particular, but okay. I guess probably more important for perimenopause than menopause, like postmenopausal, but it's not going to be, it's both going to be the same. But it's the making sure you're having a regular bowel motion, because if you're not having a regular bowel motion, all your estrogens and progesterone and everything that's getting broken down, especially estrogens, are going to be being dumped into your bowel to be removed. And if you're not having a regular bowel motion, you're going to be reabsorbing those estrogens to then be compounding what's going on in your system. So you're going to have more hormonal stuff going on for you. So yeah, looking after your bowel motions and making sure you're not constipated.
High fiber foods, guys. High fiber foods and plenty of water. All about the plant. Amazing. Okay, well, I mean, there's a load of information there. I really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we tell everyone where they can find you?
I could go on and on when it comes to hormonal health. It's very individual. There's a lot you can do yourself, but a lot of people I find get very overwhelmed when they start looking at where I should start and what I should be doing. So potentially I would say start looking at first. What you want to look at is what is your main symptoms, what's going on. If you're feeling fantastic, that's okay. But if you've got symptoms that it's insomnia, or it's you're feeling that weight gain or something, then you're going to work on different things slightly. But the main things I would look at is reducing stress, making sure that you're having a good night's sleep. So learning how to have like good sleep hygiene, eating a really balanced diet. Like I'm going to be assuming everyone in here is going to be eating amazingly. So having your protein, having your fiber, having your good fats in every meal. I would say majority of women need magnesium. Now you can be increasing your magnesium, so magnesium rich foods, so your leafy greens, nuts, almonds and Brazil nuts are quite high in magnesium. Cacao is great if you've a bit of a sweet tooth as well. If you want to have pretend you're having chocolate, but have it in a healthy fashion. But I do find that over 80% of women are low in magnesium, especially when they're going through perimenopause, and it really makes a massive difference on brain health, being able to sleep, being able to reduce your anxiety levels, and reducing your PMS or any other sort of symptoms that are going on. Magnesium is massive. I like there's different brands and different types of magnesium. So there's some that you want to kind of sort of avoid, and there's better ones for you. But it sort of depends on the person to what is the best. Again, I also think this with B vitamins. I think a lot of women are stressed when they're perimenopausal age. It's usually an age when we're going through a lot. We might have grown up like children who needing a lot of support. We might have elderly parents, jobs are usually
Someone
women juggling. We're just juggling everything.
someone once said as well, like the women who are going through menopause, they are looking after everyone above and below. Like they're
Yeah.
looking after the grandkids, the kids, and then they're also looking after their parents as well. And I was just like,
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
sucks. Like, no
And
wonder why it's a stressful time, hormonal time on top of that. Like, no wonder why it's a hard time, and there's such a taboo still around it. I mean, there's definitely a lot that's come in way of educating and coming around, especially with like big corporates and stuff like that. So we are getting somewhere, but there's still a lot of misinformation and confusion out there.
Yeah. I have heard there are some companies that are actually putting in place like this perimenopausal, menopausal support programs within the company. So when if you're feeling like either like if you have hot flushes and you just need a place to go, or very much more understanding, which just sounds amazing. So yeah, it's
which
really
sounds
great.
like it needs to be done, considering probably 50% of the workforce is going to be women anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, very true. So I would just say it's really that on that note is just really looking after yourself and finding something that is just for you, because we're always looking after everyone else. I often get my clients to get out their calendar and show me where they're booking in their time, so that it's not, so they're learning, because it's you really almost have to retrain yourself that you can do something for yourself, because we're so used to doing it for everybody else. And some women just feel guilty if they do anything for themselves.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guilt around that as well. As you know, my family need me, my parents need me. Some people will say, you know, they don't have anyone else, or my siblings don't help, or anything like that. And it's so cliche, but you can't pour from an empty pitcher. It's so cliche, but there's a reason why that saying exists.
Yes.
There's a reason why it exists. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your expertise today, Kirsty. You've been absolutely fantastic. I had no doubt about it that this was going to be a fantastic one. So a really good watch for anyone, for any woman, any man. Like, it's important that men are also very well versed and educated in how they can support women, because I mean, we all come from a woman, so everyone knows a woman at least. So very, very important. There's no men in this group, but please feel free to share this with your friends, with your partner. And yeah, thank you so much for coming and joining. I appreciate it. So please do a massive dump with us. Like, where can people find you? You've got a 5-day challenge. Tell me, feel free to share, girl.
Okay, beautiful. I am mainly on Facebook, so you can find me. I have a group called Babes Beyond 30. Always questioning if I should change that name, but perimenopausal and menopause support. Kirsty A Urwin on Facebook as well. On Instagram, I'm not on there loads, but I sort of build that up a little bit as well. But that's Success with Kirsty. But with my 5-day challenge, yes, I can fill in a lot more information, and really it's to really get you to understand how your body is working, and then also do some work around self-love and actually understanding how we change and emotionally what's going on, as well as the more scientific kind of side of things and how we can then treat it and what we're going to do. So I have a 5-day challenge coming up. I think it's starting in 2 weeks time. I've got to check. Oh my goodness. But if you're interested, either just send me a DM. I'll be on here. I can pop that. I can just say hi in the comments, so you can easily find me as well, or just pop a comment in here, and I'm sure Bianca can let me know that it's come on. I do have a 12-week program as well, which I've only got space for 2 more people if anyone's interested in doing a bit more of a deep dive and really understanding what's going on with their hormones, and getting that support and some testing. So I do some lab testing as well, which again, I really think if in the 20s, it's great for anyone who's actually in their 20s to do a hormonal Dutch test, so they've got like a baseline to them when they're sort of then late 30s, 40s, they've got stuff to compare it to as well. But if you pass that age, then, you know, you can just do it at any age and we can work from there. Yeah.
Amazing.
But that's it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate you. Well, such a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, I just feel like there's so much more, but I hope your
Save it for the challenge. Save it for the challenge.
Sign up for the challenge. That's it.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Kirsty. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, hun.
Bye.